Yes, good afternoon, students. We meet again today with the fourth lecture of chapter 2 on reproduction in higher animals. Okay, so we had ended last time with the reproductive system of female. Okay, now we need to understand what is oogenesis. Now, like we had studied what is spermatogenesis, in the similar manner, we need to understand what is oogenesis. Now, as you can see in the slide that is shared, what you can understand from oogenesis? Oogenesis is nothing but the formation of the ovum or the egg that starts in the ovaries of the fetus before birth. Now, what does that mean? Now, that means that there is a formation of haploid female gamete from the diploid germinal epithelium. Like we had seen in the tears of the ovary, we had seen the number of cells and how the ovum is formed. So this process of oogenesis explains how the formation of the ovum takes place in the ovaries. Okay. Now, we need to understand, like in spermatogenesis, also there are three stages. First, the multiplication phase. Second, the growth phase. And the third is the maturation phase, like you can see in the diagram. Okay. Now, in the very first stage, that is the multiplication phase, you could see in this stage the primary germinal cells of the ovary undergo repeated mitotic division to form millions of gamete mother cells or oogonial cells. This process is completed in the embryonic stage of the human females. Yes, so here the germinal epithelial cells divide repeatedly until many diploid oogonia are formed. Then in the growth phase, you will see some of the oogonia stop division and begin to increase in size and form primary oocytes. The cellular organelles like endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus, and mitochondria increase in number. Now here you could see the oogonia grow to form the primary oocytes that are surrounded by a layer of follicle cells. Okay. Now in the third maturation phase, the oogenesis takes place in the ovaries. Here the process is initiated prior to the birth of the female baby. Yes. Now, you would see the follicle cells surrounded by the primary follicle develop into the secondary follicles. Then the follicular layer of the secondary oocyte thickens and folds to form the Graafian follicle. Now, when the Graafian follicle becomes mature, it will move towards the surface of the ovary wall and rupture to release the secondary oocyte. Now, the secondary oocytes that has completed meiosis 2, when it is fertilized by a sperm, the final product of meiosis 2 is the ovum and the second polar body. Now, here you would see that if the secondary oocyte does not receive the sperm, it is shed off in the process of the menstrual cycle, as a process of menstrual cycle. So here you would find the ovum that has been released from the Graafian follicle is been picked up by the fimbriae of the infundibulum, yes, and it travels up to the ampulla. Now here in the previous diagram, we go back to our female reproductive system. Now here you will see the ovary that will release the ovum after oogenesis are picked up by the infundibulum with the help of the fimbriae, and that ovum or the egg remains situated for 24 hours in the ampulla. Okay, it remains there for fertilization. Clear? Now you would find in the process of fertilization the sperm would tend to get in through the process of coitus or through the process of copulation and will travel up from the vagina, from the cervix, from the uterus into the fallopian tube, will pass through the isthmus and come up to the ampulla, where you would find if the egg is there, then that sperm will fertilize the ovum there in the ampulla, and then after a series of changes you would find after fertilization the zygote, which then gets converted into embryo, will travel up to the fundus of the uterus and will come up to the endometrium, and then the implantation of the embryo takes place. Okay, now when the implantation of the embryo takes place, that means the pregnancy will set in, and from the position of the ampulla till the implantation, you would find a lot of embryonic developmental changes will undergo in the zygote, and the process of cleavage will undergo. And once the cleavage sets in, you would find a lot of changes taking place in the cell, and there's a ball of a mass of cells or the morula is formed that would then travel up to the uterus and would come up to the endometrium, that we would see in the next few half an hour. Okay, so for you to understand is, you would see here in oogenesis, once the ovum is formed, what is the structure of the ovum or the structure of the secondary oocyte? Now here you would find the structure of the ovum. Here you could see, now here you can see the anatomy of the ovary and the follicle. Now what I explained in the process of oogenesis has been explained here in the process of anatomy of ovary and the follicle. Now here just above that you could see the structure of the ovum. Now in the structure of the ovum you could see that the ovum is without a shell, okay, and it is microlesithal. That means the yolk is present but it is in a very small quantity. Now it is rounded, non-motile and haploid female gamete, as you know. Now here you would find the nucleus of the egg. Here in the center you could see the nucleus. So the nucleus of the egg appears large and is called the germinal vesicle. Now the typical nucleus or the pronucleus is formed at the time of the fertilization. Now the cytoplasm of the egg is called the ooplasm. Now here this ovum is devoid of centrioles, and you would see there are layer of coverings or membranes surrounding the the nucleus. Now here you could see the egg membrane is called the vitelline membrane, which secretes non-cellular glycoproteinous membrane, that is the zona pellucida, which is outside, and adhering to the outer surface of the zona pellucida are several radiating elongated cells called the corona radiata. Now these cells are derived from the innermost layer of the granulosa cells. They are firmly held to the zona pellucida and to each other by a mucopolysaccharide. Between the vitelline membrane and the zona pellucida is a fluid filled with the perivitelline space. The first polar body lies in this particular space. Now the egg shows a polarity. The side having the germinal vesicle and the first polar body is called as the animal pole, while the opposite side is called as the vegetal pole. Okay. Now in the exam, they tend to ask the structure of the ovum. So you have to explain the structure of the ovum with the with its layer covering, that is the zona pellucida, the corona radiata. Okay. Now this diagram generally tends to come for 2 to 3 marks. Okay. Now we go to the next part. Now once the egg is formed and ready, it would is been released from the Graafian follicle, and what happens? It's been taken about the fimbriae of the infundibulum. So now the infundibulum, the area of the infundibulum, that is the ampulla, this ovum stays there. So, okay, before we go there, you need to, or you might have known till now, the comparison between the spermatogenesis and oogenesis. So here, the spermatogenesis and oogenesis, you could see basically the process of the formation of the sperm and formation of the egg. So here uh, a few points have been jotted down wherein you would see and understand and write it down. In the exam, they could ask you the comparison between the spermatogenesis and the oogenesis. Okay. Now, after this, we could do the next part, that is fertilization of the syngamy. Now here, what is fertilization? Basically, fertilization is the union of the male and the female gamete, or the fusion of the gametes. Now, the fertilization is a process which involves union of the haploid male and female gametes resulting to form a diploid zygote. That means n plus n gives rise to a diploid zygote, that is 2n. Now basically, like in other mammals, in humans, the process of the fertilization, where does it takes place? It is internal, and it is usually taking place in the ampulla of the fallopian tube. Now the fertilized egg or the zygote will develop into an embryo, and this process occurs within the uterus of the female. Okay. Now in the mechanism of the fertilization, there are two parts, wherein the first part is the movement of the sperm towards the egg, and the second part is the entry of the sperm into the egg. Okay. Now you could see in the diagram here, on the left side, the very first diagram, as the diagram shows, 100 sperms attached to the corona radiata. Okay. Now before that, we need to understand the movement of the sperm towards the egg. So what happens? the sperm cell is released into the female organ through the process of the coitus, that is through the process of copulation. And what happens? The sperm cells makes their way through the top of the vagina, through the cervix and into the uterus. Now what happens is the sperms, now do you remember the structure of the sperm? Now in the structure of the sperm you might have seen there was an acrosome, the acrosome membrane. So when it travels or enters into the vagina, the acrosome membrane becomes thin and the calcium enters the sperm and the tail begins to whip rapidly so that the sperm can swim fast up to the ovum. Now, what happens as a result? The sperms become very active or becomes extra active and travels up to the ampulla. Now, sperms reach up to the ampulla as a result of their own swimming and partly by the contraction of the uterus and the fallopian tubes. That is, the contraction of the uterus basically taking place through the oxytocin of the female that's been secreted. Okay. Now, what happens? The sperms reach the ampulla within 5 minutes and the sperms can remain viable for, for 24 to 48 hours. So now what happens is, now here as the explanation shows, the sperm reaches up to the ampulla and fertilizes the egg. Now once the fertilization takes place, it forms the zygote. Now the zygote, that is the fertilized egg, at this stage possesses half the DNA characteristics of each of its parent. That zygote then divides itself to form a tiny ball called an embryo. Now that embryo continues downwards and finds itself a comfortable place in the uterus. Now before that, here you need to understand how does the sperm actually break into the ovum. Now what happens is, a sperm after reaching the egg comes to lie against it, its acrosome releases lysines. Okay, they separate and dissolve the cells of the corona radiata, so the sperm head passes through the zona pellucida of the egg. The zona pellucida has fertilizin receptor proteins. The fertilizin binds to specific acid protein antifertilizin of the sperm. Now this is species specific. So what happens? It brings about attraction of the sperms into the egg to enhance fertilization. Thus the fertilizin and the anti-fertilizin reaction is also called compatibility reaction. Now as the sperm head touches the zona pellucida in the animal pole region, its acrosome covering ruptures to release the lytic enzymes or the acrosin or the zona lysine. They act on the zona pellucida at the point of the contact. A small fertilization cone or the cone of reception is formed on the egg membrane. So now what happens? The sperm nucleus and the centrioles enter the egg while the other parts of the sperm remains outside. So what happens? Once the centriole and the nucleus enters, what happens? Now no other sperm needs to enter the ovum. So what happens? Once it is entering inside, so as soon as the sperm head touches the vitelline membrane, a cortical reaction gets activated, changing the white layer membrane into a fertilization membrane by deactivating the sperm receptors of the zona pellucida. A distinct perivitelline space is created around the fertilization membrane. This prevents any further entry of any other sperm into the egg. That is, polyspermy is avoided. That means no further sperm could enter into the egg or the ovum once one sperm nucleus enters inside. So here you could see 100 of sperms in and around the ovum. Yes. Now they're trying to get into the corona radiata. Now once the contact is made, you see here in the third diagram, a single sperm succeeds in burrowing through the corona radiata and the zona pellucida and making contact with the oocyte plasma membrane. The sperm's plasma membrane fuses with that of the oocyte and the sperm releases its nucleus into the cytoplasm of the oocyte here. Okay. So here you could see after the sperm penetrates the secondary oocyte, the oocyte completes the meiosis II, forming the ovum and the second polar body. The sperm and the ovum nuclei swell, forming the pronuclei. Okay. Now the pronuclei approach each other and mitotic spindle forms between them, and the chromosomes of both the pronuclei intermix and fertilization is accomplished. So this is how the entire process of fertilization takes place. So the covering of the male and the female pronuclei genes generate, allowing the chromosomal pairing. So you could see the chromosomal pairing taking place. So this results in the formation of synkaryon by the process called as syngamy or the karyogamy. Okay. Now the proximal centriole received from the sperm helps in the formation of the synkaryon spindle and the cleavage of the cell into the two blastomeres. So what happens after the fertilization? You would see a zygote formed, which then forms an embryo and undergoes embryonic development. So what happens? The zygote formed is then divides and redivides. And what is this dividing and redividing called as? The process of cleavage. Now here you could see, you can see the ovum with number of sperms in and around. Once a sperm enters, within 24 hours, fertilization takes place. Okay, and then the zygote formed and then undergoes the, you could see here in the diagram, the 2 cell stage, 4 cell stage, 8 cell stage, 16 to 32 cell stage. Okay. Now this entire process is called as the cleavage. So what happens? The mitotic division of the zygote takes place into a hollow multicellular blastula. Now here it does not involve the growth of the daughter cells. The cleavage formed by the cleavage, the cells that are formed from the cleavage are called as the blastomeres. Okay. Now here you could see in the second last diagram, you could see the blastocyst that has been formed and the trophoblast. Okay. Now that means the cells formed by the cleavage are called as the blastomeres. Now what happens here? In the process of cleavage, you could see first the cell divides into 2, then 4, and then 8 cell stage, and then 32 cell stage, wherein the 32 cell stage is called as the a ball of mass of cells called as the morula. Yes, and then you could see all the cells are at the boundary. Can you see? That is the early blastocyst stage. And then you could see the blastocyst cavity. So there you can see there, here you can see this blastocyst cavity here. Okay, and here at the boundary, this is the, what are they? At the boundary, you can see the cells at the boundary here. Okay, now what happens in the blastulation? Now in the blastulation, you would find, what is blastulation? Is the process of formation of hollow and multicellular blastocysts. Now the embryo that enters the uterus remains floating in the uterine cavity for 2 to 4 days after its entry. That is till the end of the 7th day after the fertilization. The outer layer of cells seen in the morula now form the layer called as the trophoblast. So here you could see the outer membrane of cells, the trophoblast you can see in the outer boundary. Okay, now what happens here? After the trophoblast is formed, now this what happens? Now these are trophoblast cells, these outer cells become flat and are called as trophoblast cells, as I said. Now the inner larger cells form inner cell mass or the embryoblast. Okay, this remains attached to the trophoblast only on one side. So here you could see the trophoblast. Okay, now at the one end only, the trophoblast cells in contact with the embryonic knob are called as the cells of Robert. At this stage, the blastocyst shows polarity. Now here you could see that at the end of the 7th day, the blastocyst is fully formed. Now it is ready for the implantation. So now what happens? The function of the zona pellucida is to prevent the implantation of the embryo at the abnormal site. So what it does? It does not expose the sticky and the phagocytic trophoblast till it reaches the implantation site, that is within the uterus. Hence, zona pellucida now ruptures. Okay. Now here you would see in the last diagram, you can see it is getting attached. Now here you can see the blastocyst after it's been formed gets implanted or embedded in the endometrium of the uterus. Now this process usually begins on the 7th day after fertilization, and at the end of the 10th day the embryo is completely buried inside the endometrium. So you could see that. So here you could see that here, see here, you could see all the different stages of how the the cleavage is taking place, and once the cleavage taking place till the 7th day, and how at the 7th day it comes and gets attached itself to the endometrium of the uterus. So here you can see how it is getting attached here. Okay. Clear? Now, so the inner layer of cells is called as cytotrophoblast, where the cells within gets defined. Now you would see what are the different changes that are taking place. That means gastrulation takes place. Now what is gastrulation? Gastrulation is a process that establishes all the 3 germ layers that is the ectoderm, mesoderm and the endoderm in the embryo. Okay. Now the endoderm is the innermost layer, the ectoderm is the outermost layer, and the mesoderm is the layer between the endoderm and the ectoderm. Now what happens here? What happens to the ectoderm? So ectoderm basically gives rise to the epidermis of the skin, the hairs, the nails, the sweat glands, the mammary glands, the lens, the cornea, the ear, foregut. So what is all external? You would find that forms the ectoderm. Now what forms the mesoderm? So mesoderm are all basically the all types of muscles. That is the connective tissue, the dermis of the skin, the adrenal cortex, the heart, blood vessels, lymphatic vessels, etc. The teeth, the urinary, reproductive systems, gonads, kidneys, etc. Okay. And what forms the endoderm? So endoderm basically develops into the epithelium of the midgut, glands of the stomach and the intestine, the tongue, tonsils, lungs, the urinary bladder, vagina, liver, pancreas, thyroid gland, parathyroid, thymus, etc. Okay. So these are the different fates of these three different germ layers. Okay. Now here you could see, as I explained earlier also, the morula, the solid ball of cells formed as a zygote undergoes cleavage. Okay, that is a day 4. Then the day 6, okay, that is the early blastocyst. Then the late blastocyst, that's the day 10. And the 16th day, wherein you could find the germ layers are getting formed. Now basically what happens in the gastrulation? So here you could find there are two different important events that are taking place in the gastrulation. One is the differentiation of the blastomeres, and second, the morphogenetic movements. Now here, as I said, in the differentiation of the blastomeres, the three germinal layers are formed. Okay, and in morphogenetic movements, these are the different types of movements to reach their definite place in the embryo. Okay, so the gastrulation begins in the embryoblast on the 8th day after fertilization, and you could see the changes that are taking place. Now basically what happens here, you could see the ectoderm, endoderm and the mesoderm getting formed. Yes, now after they are formed, you could see the changes taking place in the embryo. That means within the 24 hours after fertilization, the egg that will become the baby divides into many cells, and by the 8th week of the pregnancy, the baby will change into a fetus, and basically about 40 weeks for the typical pregnancy to set in. And this pregnancy is basically divided into 3 trimesters. So the entire pregnancy, so the condition of carrying one or more embryo in the uterus is called as the gestation period. So here you could see during the gestation period, the different embryonic membranes that have been formed, wherein you could see the connection with the mother is been formed with the embryo. The fluid has been formed wherein the embryo floats into and develops and gets its nutrition. Okay, and here are the 3 trimesters. So you could see the entire process after gastrulation is called as organogenesis, wherein the different organs have been formed. Okay, so we end up here today with the process of gastrulation. Okay, so students, you need to practice the diagram of the ovum, the cleavage, that is the process of cleavage and the formation of the blastula, okay, that has been asked during exam for 3 marks, 4 marks. The significance of fertilization, the process of fertilization, and how does the fertilization take place, what is oogenesis, difference between the oogenesis and spermatogenesis. Okay, so today we end the lecture 4 of chapter 2. So go through the explanation properly and understand. Okay, practice the diagrams well. Okay, so stay home, stay safe. Thank you.